Hello, my lovers. It's MJ from Outer Love TV. How are you? So, I've got my cards out and I feel really blessed because one of my clients sent 4 new tarot decks, 2 of which I'm practicing with at home and 2 of which I've brought with me. So, it's likely during the share today that I'm going to pull a few cards for the collective. And if you're new here, again, I'm MJ, which stands for Molly Jane, and I'm an author. I published a book a few years ago. You can see it behind the plant there. It's called The Fearless Life Guide. It's based on my own spiritual awakening and transformational journey, which has been like a fairly long 20-year journey of inner exploration. And today I feel prompted to talk about intuition, and I do have a lesson in the book on intuition, and it's all about getting to know yourself, getting to know who you are, introspection, reflection, journaling. I, in the book, offer a lot of exercises and different tips and tools for how we get to know that part of ourselves. And I'm a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. So in A Course in Miracles, they use Christian language, and the intuition is regarded as the Holy Spirit. So to me, the intuition is a sense. It's a connector point within ourselves that's essentially always communicating with us. And truly, that's why the meditation, the stillness, that sacred quietude that we find within ourselves, and then the practices that align with that, the way we attune to the creative expression that feels really good for us, all of that is connected to what we call the intuition. And the intuition as a word means the inner teacher. So it's the part of ourselves that is allowing us to be reflective, to have this intellect, to embody the connector point that allows us to feel. And the feeling, space ultimately is our heart, and that kind of central pillar that's all connected to that heart space, which is the communicator and the biofeedback of our manifest reality, that which we perceive as a God source, as a divinity point of creation that's ultimately creating the world that we see around us. So the intuition is very much connected to how we're perceiving our reality. And many of us that kind of share this stuff, it's the fact that the way we were indoctrinated, especially those of us that grew up with TV, which is, increasingly more of the population of the world, growing up with a TV in our house, and now we're, growing up with all these devices. It's the fact that when we're mentally being programmed by that external device, we're not ultimately, attuning to that deeper sense within us that allows us to access more divine thought, higher thought, versus a lot of the, if not the majority of the television programming, which is fear-based, triggering base tones. People might call it the reptilian mind or the primitive mind, the fight-flight reactive kind of mindset, which we can see exemplified in our world almost anywhere we look. We blame and attack one another for our problems. We project all of our shadow aspects, all of our darkness, all of our fear essentially out in the world. And that's my own journey of navigating what I call the emotional storms in the Fearless Life Guide, is that the more disconnected we are, the less we feel our sentience and our connectivity to all that is, which is where empathy comes in. So people that regard themselves as empaths are people that, and I too am one of these people, that your whole life you've never been able to deny that biofeedback. You've been present in your heart and felt very directly the pain and suffering of people and humanity and stuff around us. And so we've been navigating this quantum leap in our human evolution very intuitively, right? Because we're bridging a timeline, as it were. Or in astrology terms, we could call it the shift of the ages, right? We're moving from a Piscean age to an Aquarian age, which means It's the precession of the equinox, right? With this precession as a being, as a totality, we become more of the God source through that return home. So each shift of the ages is a recognition and a sort of completion of a phase of learning for the totality of our species. So the quantum leap is simply an access point of a higher recognition, which allows us to feel more whole, more harmonious, and thus, in eventuality, at least, we can project a more harmonious, compassionate, and a world which essentially sustains the humanity of the people via the connector of the being in which we inhabit Earth. So Earth as a regenerative being, one that essentially nature is a very sacred and harmonious and regenerative complex system. And we are that. And part of what we are recognizing and or awakening to is that mechanistic and or industrial age and or the patriarchal system, that sort of separate worldview is what we're rising out of. We can call it control domination, we can call it divide and conquer, we can call it blame and attack. All of it essentially is based in a perception that we are separate from that which we see. We are separate from the God source and from the creative energy which we all are. So the way I've always understood it from my early awakenings is that inherently is kind of gonna fuck with our creative ability, right? Because if we deep down in our core think and feel like we're separate from the totality, that's the sin, right? That's the original sin, because born out of that that wound of separation is all the fear and all of the like, what is life? Because we think we're not that. So as we, and I would say that's also part of like the trick of it, or the cosmic trickster, as it were, because it's almost like the veil is a conscious aspect of creation to get to know itself from different perspectives. So this sort of infinite, eternal expansion of the light and the dark and the God source and the totality of beingness that we all are is continually looping back on itself, being like, ooh, and now what could I do? Ooh, and how could I get to? And so that's also part of what we call shadow work, or what we call, integrative emotional processing, is that through that alchemical window, we start to recognize that we are the darkness too. And that's how we ultimately rise in a greater authenticity and a greater ability to hold space and compassion for duality, for darkness, for that which we feel into as shame and guilt and rage, right? Those dark, demonic kind of feelings that we embody, until we really own them as our own, we continue to perpetuate certain patterns in our lives. And hey, I can say these things and still ultimately share with you, we're all in those patterns, whether we like it or not, until we're not. And we can only endeavor in our own heart space to walk our own path in earnest, being as loving as we can, really ultimately to our own self. That's part of intuition, right? To thine own self be true. And yet getting to know ourselves from a truly loving and nurturing perspective is part of this quantum leap, right? Because that's the polarity, sort of quantum shift of it, is that a fear-based perspective is limited, it's linear, it's like a false, it's like well, and I suppose it's all an illusion to a certain degree, because it's all temporary, and it's all part of that just divine cosmic elixir of creation, right? So the more we embody that, the more it's just a continual conundrum and a paradox. And I suppose I'm just here to share always a little bit of insight of and to like truly our so-called spiritual practices should lighten us up and give us the power and the resilience to hold space for ourselves in our darkest hour. And that's something I always, you can look back at old videos of me when I'm going through stuff, and that was part of being in service. When you ultimately surrender your life, oftentimes you're just like being asked to do stuff that even your own self is like, why do you want me to do this? But sharing the depth of emotional storms, sharing emotional alchemy, endeavoring to rewire our social reactivity program of, if we see somebody sad or crying or something, we say, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with us for feeling our feelings. If anything, that's definitely something I'm like, holla! Like, when those waves of emotion come up, give space for ourselves and other to be present with them, right? Rather than staying in that base tone of pointing fingers at everybody for how we feel. And that continues to require a lot of silence and stillness. Here's the jump over to the cards, right? So as I said earlier in this video, I got 4 new decks from a client, and I pulled one for myself, and this message, this intuitive message, which again can come in a whisper or hey guys, hello, Race. Hi, Eric. How are you? so the intuitive messages come through maybe a voice, it comes through like certain feelings. It may be when you're journaling and streaming consciousness, you might get like, people would say maybe downloads and stuff like that. But this message, the same message as what I'm going to show you in this card, has been coming through for me. And I shared a self-care video, which I, for whatever reason, deleted. In my reflection, I just felt like I wasn't like in this optimal energy. Hey ho. Wait, there's like a song coming through, but no, it's gone. It's just like some rap or something, which I'm just not. Anywho, so this is the card, and this is the same message I'm getting from myself. So when I finish this broadcast, I shall be sitting in meditation for a while until, and like, here's the thing, long-standing meditator over here, like, you just keep sitting, and it goes in waves, and yet it gets easier and easier to just like drop into the stillness. So I'm going to read the back. It says, your soul thrives on silence. Holla. Silence is so juicy. Okay, from deep inside, you receive your most certain guidance and instruction. Holla, intuish. This is so relevant to what we're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. In silence, you are without distractions. This is why we fear silence. We fear its power. Enjoy quiet meditation today. Thank you, I will. Beautiful healing cards. Okay, so I'm going to noodle in, because we're talking about fear, we're talking about separation, we're talking about like why we fear silence, and I get that. I've been teaching meditation for 10 years. When we're facing like lots of chaos in our lives, oftentimes we resist the silence because it's so effing powerful. And the silence in my own personal journey, the deeper I went into silence is when I was starting to be able to hold space for myself to process those emotional storms I talk about in the book, which straight up legit also can pierce through the veil of any illusion around even our healing modalities, that we are the true ultimate healer of the totality of self when we own the totality of our creatorship, right? So we become greater and greater masters of like the trillions of cells that make up the body, and the kind of the way we navigate. And straight up, it becomes more enticing to continue on that, the path of truth, the hero's journey. So in silence, there are no distractions, and this is why we fear silence. We fear its power. And that reminds me of the Marianne Williamson quote from Return to Love. And she says, it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And it's just all these loops, right? These paradoxes sort of thing, because why on earth would we do that? Well, you could think of it if we've been living a certain way. So we have these certain constructs, like we're creatures of habit. We don't like to change. And we've been living under a certain paradigm, right? We've been living under the 3D perspective, right? The perspective of separation. And now that is beginning to dissolve, because more and more of us are going, but wait a minute, is that actually accurate? Especially because it's suffering. It's darkness, it's disconnected. And yet we've been in that paradigm for so long that as the light begins to penetrate the veil, it's frightening. Because you think, but wait a minute, God is fearful. This life is meant to be fucking hard. How dare you? Because the hardness is my story. My pain and suffering is my story. Don't you come and tell me that I'm a being of light and I can access freedom at any moment, because that would shatter the illusion. And that's why we have these processes, right? Because, and and I think I shared this with the live share crew. There's a really juicy quote. I'm tapping in and out of this book called Conversations with God. I said that funny. Conversations with God. Book 1, Neale Donald Walsch. And I this is reminding me of my early awakenings. I was just like a sponge for spiritual text and philosophical stuff. And I would just read and make notes, continuous, and then and I have just so many journals as well of my own insights. But first quote that I jotted down was, you have come here to work out an individual plan for your own salvation. And that's really relevant to like what I resonate with, as well, as far as giving power to your own beingness. Like truly, truly, truly recognize that we, are self-generating, authentic, sovereign beings. And the more of us that endeavor that, the more of us that can endeavor that, it opens up the field for greater potential creativity within our common humanity. And which again is part of this breakout from the Piscean age, from a dualistic perspective, from a fear-based or separation perspective, is that en loop creates more and more suffering, to the point the suffering almost burns us through to the other side. Because through that journey you recognize that life is eternal, that you are part of that infinite creative source. So you begin to unravel constructs around the fear of death, constructs of fear of anything. And then you work with your own emotional, vibrational vortex to basically anything that comes into your reality, work it out from within. So don't keep coming back. Because for whatever reason, we all have some shits to work out, y'all. And for me personally, it's very much about, owning our emotions and not dumping our bullshits onto one another perpetually. Holla. And then, you can think in hundreds of years, eventually, that means that work from within the humanity will unravel the lower base tone construct of a debt-based economy and a military war complex, which is dark. It's base tone, control, domination, disconnected, painful. So I believe, and I feel more people believe, like, humanity deserves better than that, and we as a people can do better than that. Like, just in our own personal lives, like, we can be better to ourselves, we can be kinder to one another, and certainly as we continue to see into more of maybe the so-called problems of the world, we can make those certain changes that make us feel better about the choices that we're making. The ability to choose is freedom, and the truth shall set you free, and you are the only one who can make a choice from within yourself. So choose wisely, as the great teachers once said. Choose wisely. And then I'll read the front. It says, in silence, we most readily preserve our integrity. Shazam! It's true. It's true. And integrity is authenticity, is freedom, is sovereignty, is liberation, vibration, salvation. And then what was that quote? It said, you, not me, not nobody that you be seeing on your screens, not no celebrities, and not nobody's from your past, neither. Nobody in a book, even. There is no entity outside of your own connection to your own intuition that can work it out for you. Hence, this Conversations with God with Neale Donald Walsch, like reflection, because we're all reflections of the unity, right? So you have come here to work out an individual plan for your own salvation. So it's only you that can do that, right? And me for me, and you for you, and me for me, and you. It has been a beautiful morning speaking with you guys today. I have not engaged too much in the chit chat, but sometimes when I'm focused on the flow, it's like staying centered to listen. So I'm gonna pull 3 cards from Rider Waite, see if there's energy coming through. I feel like I might pull a card from that Sacred Traveler as well. This is another deck that I've got with me today that's newbie. You guys know that I'm an intuitive reader, so it's really to do with how you resonate with my vibe, basically. And if you do resonate and you are feeling the messages in the cards, then that can be a prompt at some point anyway to book a private reading. All the information's in the description box, including all of the stuff that you can buy from Alta Love, which is the online brand that I've created. And it's based on sustainability, spirituality, and freedom. I've got a series of online courses, merchandise, as I've said already, the book, and you can book perspective calls and stuff like that. Holla, holla, holla. That card keeps coming up as well. So the sun, I'm hearing a song. Where's the sunshine? Where's the sunshine? Some of you guys know I break out into a song, and I often have no idea what the words are, but just little drop. And then sometimes I actually feel the unity piece of this collective, because I swear to God, I'll hear a random song that I don't even know, and then one of you will be like, "Oh my God, I was listening to that song in the car when I was watching you." I'm like, huh? One mind accessing the quanti. Okay, so we have a strength card, Chariot reverse, Sun, and then walking away. Strength. This feels like an energy of having to go in a sudden new direction. Possibly relieving yourself out of some kind of stagnation. Or, very, very much this is an energy of having an awakening, having an aha moment, having a and then you walking away from a project. 8 of Cups is always an energy of something that you have been invested in. Cups is typically our emotions, but when we're invested emotionally, we're typically invested, right? We're pouring energy into something. And the 8 of Cups is us turning our back. And being at an 8, it's something that we worked on maybe for 8 years or 8 months, or, there's been a substantial amount of building up and then turning our back on it. So with the strength card there as a kind of surrounding energy, it's definitely something that's needing your strength. And yet with the sun shining really, really bright, sun's one of the best cards in the deck, right? This is taking you out of maybe what you felt was even a backward motion or proper stagnation. Chariot reverse. Hey, Kat! I'm so happy you're here. I was thinking about you a day or 2 ago. For some reason, you popped into my awareness. Hello, how are you? So yeah, y'all, this is, we're still in the heavy duty transformational energy, globally speaking. So I increasingly feel really grounded. Part of the share yesterday was this self-care tips thing in talking about the increasing silence vibration, being called to meditate, being called to sit in silence and be in nature. And then I think I was talking a little bit about the idea of slowing down. And again, that's about discernment in how we're interpreting words, right? And slowing down, this is also part of the paradox of manifestation and creation, right? Slowing down from 3 perspective could be perceived as doing less, or procrastinating, or slowing down, being lazy, or whatever. But from my perspective, it's an inner gate. So oh, holla! We, one mind cat, it was probably right at the same time. So slowing down is something within. And in fact, I would say in this miraculous divine ordering, the deeper stillness and slowing down that I embody from within the self, the more miraculous and like the world shape shifts, but I'm not having to effort. So flow, like living more on flow, and this idea of like letting go, I'm like, yo, that's just continual. And it would appear that sometimes we have crux points in cycles. So ebbs and flows, ups and downs, like I talk about this, the free fall, the bottoming out, like crashing and burning, skidding out for a bit, dusting yourself off, and then rebuilding. Up the cycle goes again. And yet, as a container of existence through this finite perspective, with cycles of transformation as a being, like how in the old school sacred like tribes, we would have had initiations, right, into different phases of our life and purpose. So naturally, like for me, that's happened in my life as I've followed and heeded the call of my own intuition. I've had these cyclical transformational cycles that that ended up having my whole entire physical reality completely shapeshifted, right? So we continue to go through them, but as a life force container from within, it's not that we don't have challenges. It's not that we're, not having desires or not moving through, but it becomes almost like more and more merged with the divine. And so there's a deeper sense of serenity, grace, humility, acceptance, blah, blah, that can help us hold space in loving compassion, unconditional love for the totality and for ourselves. And so it just makes the emotional storms a bit easier, because more of us are like, that's just part of life, instead of all of us walking around trying to pretend like we're like that we don't feel or that like everything is fine, and that we're not crying like, why this is so funny, and then going to work like it, right? Like we're not having to play those roles. And that's for more and more of us something that we're just like, thank you for that, but that doesn't work for me. I need to be able to be my authentic self like everywhere I go. So, and like I don't want to deviate from that, because you live and learn, right? Ooh, I think I saw someone. Lorna in the house. I have so much love for all of you. It's so nice to be here. I'm glad I've come live. I was having a bit of a dip of energy. It was an early start today, but I really enjoyed sharing. I knew I needed to kind of redo the vid from yesterday, because it just wasn't quite there for me. So anywho, I'm just hearing mega hot love vibration for all of you lovers. I've treated myself. I'm gonna share with you some little treats that I got. So along when I was teaching yoga previously down in Devon, I had a beautiful friend and client, or have a beautiful friend client, and she makes these gorgeous things. Oh, and then you can see the ring. So lots and ebbs and flows, right, Kat? And then, but the more you do, and then the more you do, the more you meet the other dudes of that vibration. So you're like, shazam, and then it gets better and better, and then you're like, okay, I kind of get this. Like, I'm alright with myself. Like it just gets, yeah. But I mean, like straight up legit. 2 days ago, I was in the heavies, just like, like crying out all of my unworthiness at the what is life, like. And like not sharing, and that's just part of being all flow. Like I got to say, I know there was a time where I was like sharing loads and loads and loads, and that's just, I'm sleeping more and I'm teaching more, different things are happening in my 3D reality, which I love and I'm honoring, and I'm like, however, this is legit, and I seriously love and I feel the friendship connector with many of you. So OMG. So this card I pulled, and I'm not sure if it's because I haven't shuffled or whatever, but answering the call. This is the card that I saw before from the deck that I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna, but this is a good one for all of us. The Sacred Traveler Oracle cards, the Guidebook. So I could read, because there's probably some juicy nuggets in the Guidebook, and because it's a new deck, blah, blah. But this is the card we got, you guys. Hey, Daniel son, how are you? Oh, I saw someone else. Tree hugger! I've thought of you as well recently. You came into my awareness, not within maybe like the last week or so. Yeah, just like the crew, basically. Outside of the crew, the live share crew. So answering the call, this one came up, and I'm sure I even spoke those words just on flow about heeding the intuitive call. Like when you get this inner, and that's what happened to me 20 years ago, where it was just an inner voice that said to me, "Go." When I was thinking and talking to a friend about traveling, intuition, a very powerful, loud voice, "Go, go," and I was like, "Okay." And then I got a backpack and I got rid of my things and got a visa to go to the United Kingdom. And then I arrived at Piccadilly Circus like, "Hola, I am here. Where is the new paradigm?" And then 20 years later, I'm like, "Oh, guys, we're it. It's not out there. We're the new paradigm. Paradigm shift has happened. Here we are." So answering the call is like people who res with when inside is guiding you beyond what the status quo is. Yes, Daniel, 1111. The numbers in my own fam, mega. Oh, yeah, soul family. Oh, feel it, right? I just feel like a really gentle kind of like quiver shiver. A little quiver shiver through the body. Very gentle, very lovely. So this, my lovers, is a card we got. So answering the call, the time is now. And it sure is, isn't it? Because there's only ever now. So what is time? It's now. It's a 111 sacred geometry, right? All over the place. Let's read from the book for a little bit of oracle action. I don't know why I'm laughing, but there you go. Okay. What was the card? See, you guys get me all percolation. It's like when I have chats with Roots or something and I get giddy. And then you guys know this, legit, that you on the other side of this channel have been lifelines for some of my darkest, most emotionally painful and transformative times. When you're endeavoring to love, but all it feels like is betrayal and darkness. And like last year, loads of us had like, and it's still anywho. Oh wait, look, I just got Ascending the Mountain. I just got a different one. Oh, there, Answering the Call. Let's read from the book, shall we? Let's have a little bit of read time with MJ. How to use it. I use it intuition, right? So we're good. Although, I mean, this is, sure, it's all part of the intuition. I've been purchasing my plants from a local independent flower shop just down the road from the office. And she knows me now. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're the tarot lady." I'm like, "That's right." She's like, "How does that work?" And then I was like explaining, and she's like, "Yeah, I get that." And then at some point the conversation, and I just went, "Well, that's when you like get into the quantum." And she was like, "No, okay, there you go." She rung up my sunflowers, and she's like, "That's where we're gonna stop talking." I'm like, straight up legit. It's really nice when we just stop. Answering the Call is the first card of the deck. In fact, I'm pretty sure that deck was brand new, so I just haven't shuffled or anything. But still, it's a nice card for all of us that are heeding the intuitive call, because now is the time. What am I doing? Okay. I just want to give you all, I just want to entertain you all and bring a smile to your face. And be real about the fact that, like, Shazam, come on, world. Wakey, wakey. Time for beautiful, loving changes for yourself. Come on. Stop watching TV. Good move. Sit down in silence more. Good move. Get your freaking glorious freak on. Sleepy Zeke. Hello. Get your freak on. Freaky lovers, get your freaks on. Come on. You know you want to. If even by yourself. Let's be honest, spiritual awakening can be effing lonely. You might as well have a good time. You guys, just be serious. Like, okay. Let's read this Shazam. Let's see how long it is. Okay, it's not too bad, so we're good. Okay. Answering the call, the time is now. You've been called. The sacred journey always starts with a call. Sure does. You might feel ready, or you might be uncertain and not willing. But when you receive the call, you must respond. If you've been waiting for your life to turn out, the waiting is over. Your true and authentic life is happening. If you've been hoping for a sign, this is it. Shazam! I just added that. Right now, you've been called, and a gateway is opening for communications from the spirit realms. The energy of courage surrounds you. It does. This is the card that we surrounded in the other reading. See how that works out? You may not know what the future brings, but you do know that it is now time to act and go forward. And then didn't we get, keep moving forward, ascending the mountain was the other card that I'm looking down at. Okay. So this is what this card wants you to know. Spirit is trying to get your attention. You guys, Spirit is trying to get your attention. Shh. Hala. Let me just clear my throat, get a drink of coffee, get ready for this. This is going to be good. Spirit's trying to get your attention. Oh, you guys, you should, I mean, there's so much juiciness to share with all y'all lovers about, yet again, how transformed my whole reality is, but how completely awesome and radical it is. So it's almost like as well, like, okay, that's why I just gotta, this card was actually for myself that I pulled, and I know that I'm being called to sit more in deep silence. And then sharing also, make sure much of my dedicated time is for live share crew, because they've been just like soul family, super soul family, amazing tribe. And then here it's like really wanting to channel these focused messages for my lovers here. So the silence is super important. So Spirit's getting my attention too. So Spirit's getting our attention. I've digressed, but that's okay. Right now, your spirit helpers are telling you that this is your time. Listen to your heart. Your time is now. Do it now. Throw your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and plunge forward. The waiting is over. No matter what concerns or hesitations you may have, in the deepest sense, you are ready. Believe, trust, follow the signs. There will be many, and miracles will abound. Yes, we are. It is like that. The quantum oversoul family in resonance of the hot love vibrashe. I'm like looking for another word that rhymes. Come on, where's Rochelle? Rochelle! Elliot! Andy! Hey, Aunt, how are you? Aunt TV. Nice. Thanks for being here. Cancel Netflix was trending today. That made me happy. Ooh, I don't know. Is that a new documentary on Netflix? Or, I don't know, cancel Netflix. That sounds like, I don't have Netflix. You know, and that's another thing. Like, I talked about slowing down yesterday, and like I'm being called to more meditation vibrashe, like just like, oh. And there's a sense of like there's an ramp up busyness. I'm like gardening now. Living in community. I'm just gonna talk really hush because like I almost don't want to keep it secret, but like I started doing some work in the garden, learning about permaculture, and meeting amazing new people, and going surfing more, hanging out with lovely dogs and pigs and chickens and things like that. Isaac, I could feel you, my brother. I knew you were around. Fine, thanks. Just tuned in coincidentally. Hala. There are no coincidences, Aunt. Like straight up. And I know it too, because those were phases. So my last cycle, like 2011, 2012, I started to like get into the YouTube. I'm like, what's going on over here? And then finding like activation across the nation. And I was like, I think I have to do that as well. So yeah, 2012, 2013 is when I started broadcasting. I'm a completely different person then. But you see the similar, you can see bits and bobs of the same person, obvi. What is cotton linen and his wife thinking about demolition, rented house, and reconstruction? No idea. Mwah. No, they did a pedophile show and people said nope. They did a pedophile show and people said nope. The oh, I am ever so slightly doing. I'm getting lost in translation because I'm not sure what angles we're on. So it's like, did they? Anywho, I can probably do a bit of research. I'm intuiting it right now. I'm like, so there was a show about pedophilia, and people were like, or was it some kind of expose about pedophile rings that they didn't want to? Do you hear what I'm saying? Me? Oh yeah, this has come across my field of the young girls, right, in the dress up. Right. And then people went in, especially because of all of the deep web stuff that's coming up, right? And how inappropriate it is to be sexualizing our young people, which, holy Shazam. You know, women and men now, we're just in our beautiful recognition of our old paradigm enslavement system, but like, I was told that by a boss when I was like 19, like, you will have to use your sexuality to get ahead. And I was like, yeah, nope. Like, that's just not, and that's part of why I couldn't gel particularly, or it just wasn't my path to be in the entertainment business. I studied acting. There was a part of me that obviously like, holla, like wanted to perform, right? Like, that's natural. I wanted to speak, but I didn't have to be an actor. Just be myself. I mean, like, and that was further down the line. I was like, this is hard work. Like, I don't feel like an actual thespian. Most of you people just piss me off. Love and light, though, for real. But like, the empathy in me could feel ego and desperation and stuff on stage, and I was just like, I don't really give a ass. Like, I just want to save the world, because usually I'm like, why doesn't anybody understand? Ah. And I live to tell the tale and write a book about it and try to send a message of love and hope and compassion for people, that you're okay. Even when you're going, I'm not okay yet. I'm like, yeah, that is for sure part of my reality. And a lot of people here as well, just feeling the hot love. I'm sure not being an actor was a blessing. Oh, Kat, it was hazam a blessing. Like, the yoga came in. And I was like, I think I know what this yoga vibrashe is all about. And then the whole universe was like, la, teach it. And I was like, finally, I make money in my integrity. Because before that, it was a little bit more challenging, and acting sexual in rehearsal. Oh. Well, and that's like the pageant industry. I mean, heck, hey. Oh, there's a lot of that in the Disney industry, right? We have that with that's part of our own, a lot of us in this MTV generation, right? Like, I was one of those girls in high school, like, self-harming, but then also dressing up like a fucking Spice Girl to get drunk at the weekend, you know? And like, all of us were just like, because that's the program. That's what you were told. That's how to fit in. That's how to be cool. You're supposed to be sexy. And yet we don't have a fucking clue how to use our sexuality, you know? And we're I grew up Catholic. So like, there's this weird distorted loop of like deep shame and guilt about sexuality, but like, it's real, like, you feel it. But then there's the male dominated, or like, anywho, blah blah, we could go on. That's a whole other I don't want to use the expression kettle of worms, but that's a whole other shitstorm of sifting. Which, there again, to each their own. Let's go back to the Neil Donald Walsh quote. You have come here to work out an individual plan for your own salvation. I can only speak for myself, and I permission you all to do the same. So let's heed the call. Walk away from stuff if it ain't working. Oh yeah, this is all connected, you guys, for some of you, one of you, a few of you. This is going to require your strength, but it's going to lift you out of out of stagnation, you are being called. There's spirits calling you, and you're likely to have to walk away from something has been happening since humanity began progressing within dogma. That's why we ask ended awakening, knowing higher self, actualizing has been happening. Right. And from the separation construct as a twisted tool, right? No, I agree. Okay, cool. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing. I haven't been using Netflix. I've increasingly, again, oh yeah, that's where I was before I went off on one, but like in silence. So I'm now wanting to sit more, and yet in these last few weeks, increasingly, I'm just not watching other stuff. I'll tune into like Scott's or Root C's channel. I recently found Temple of Stone meditation stuff, reading. I'm kind of going into different bit of like research. Hey Daniel, hey the real Daniel Schofield, how are you? Hi Ee, la 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 la. Okay, so look at these beautiful cards. Wondrous universe, walk in beauty. And that is something, being in beauty. Oh, life. You can get so like being in that still point presence and like connected to your own love and divinity and stuff is just so, yeah, it's so beautiful. And then that's part of like the sharing here of like, give yourself permission, to heed the call and be your own savior, right? And then shine your best self, or just shine yourself into the world in as much love and acceptance as you can muster. Oh no, Daniel, do not you worry. I don't feel that you've monopolized the conversation at all. We've touched on those. That I interviewed Sasha Stone, and he's been going in quite deeply into the deep state and uprooting a lot of those the satanic ritual abuse and the pedophile rings and all of that kind of stuff. It's very deep in our it's part of this whole awakening / paradigm shift, is that a lot of the shadow of the Hollywood industry or the is boof. Yeah, Kat, thank you. Yeah, Daniel, thank you for mentioning it. It's appreciated, truly. It's like we want to be able to share openly as much as we can with good intent. And as I said, I don't subscribe to Netflix, and based on today's chat, now I can feel why. And like, I'm not likely, unless somebody else guides me to a specific thing, I would say, like, I'll probably have no need to use the service. I mean, who needs any of that, And let's simply hold space and love for the upliftment of humanity and continue to uplift ourselves. And thus, finding that, perfect timing. Me too. While I'm off skis, tree hugger. Really, really happy to connect this morning with you. So thank you for being here. And hi, John Beanie. How are you? Good morning. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for showing up. I feel much better with the, sort of the frequency, the alignments this morning. So really, really happy to be here. Like, the street cleaners are also coming out and making me feel like it's time to start the day out in the world. There's the song. In this quiet mountain town. That's from South Park. And I don't live in a mountain town, I live in a coastal town, but still. In this quiet coastal town. See, if I knew words, I could just go off on one. But we're gonna instead end the broadcast and send you all with a lovely big virtual hug. Virtual hug for all my lovers in the world. And mega hot love vibrashe. And I can't wait to see you guys real soon. And yeah, if you want to find out more about myself, my journey, and the products that I sell online, which I've created all of them and at least collaborated on some, then go check that out and buy stuff if you're inclined. It means a lot to me. It means so much. I really appreciate you all. Okay, I'm outie. Have a really, really fantastic... What day is it today even? I have no idea. Is it Thursday? September 11th? I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for choosing love. And yeah, have a wonderful, magical few days. And look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you, John Beanie. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I was kind of like dragging it out to be like, is anyone going to tell me? Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Lorna. I love you. EE, you're amazing. Friday, September 11th. Shazam! Have a wonderful day, you guys. I'll speak to you real soon. Peace out.